Well, hello everyone. Got a couple of people who are waiting for me right at the start. Sorry about that. Of course, YouTube gave me a weird error as I tried to get started. Story of my life. Nothing ever happens the way it's supposed to. So, I'm looking forward to talking about today's topic. I was hoping to have a couple of guests, and I have a feeling that there's so much to say with this that we'll have no trouble having guests again to cover much the same topic. So my name's Dr. Anthony Horvath. You can find me on Twitter at X, at Anthony Horvath. This podcast is really about having a good time talking about things that interest me, but also about promoting books that my publishing company publishes, and I have there prominently displayed Gemini by Anthony Ty Rodriguez, one of my most recent authors. I really like this book, set in England under Roman occupation. What was it? Year 400, maybe? Kind of forget about that just a little bit. But it's historically accurate. Of course, it's historical fiction. So, and the author knows a lot about it. And on the left side, you see there a book by Sam D. Packen, excuse me, Jesse Seed, and actually, if I just move that over, his most recent one is A Bed in Sheol. Well, so we publish lots of books. We've got about 30 authors, and it was time to find a way to promote them. And this podcast series is always going to have them in mind. And eventually, I'm sure we'll have some of them on to talk about whatever it is that we're talking about. So let me move this aside here. Actually, I think we're just going to make that disappear for today. It'll be easier. Nobody really likes to see me, understandably. So we'll just go down here today. Another thing I should mention about this podcast series is that we're going to try to talk about important things of interest, but we're going to try to stay away from current events. There's a million people who are talking about current events all the time. And, I don't like being stuck talking about what everybody else is talking about. So I like to find things that are a little bit older, 6 months or more. We've talked about JFK's inauguration speech as an example. It gives you an idea. And we'll have more things like that today. Well, we're going to talk about old things today. But what you're here for is a conversation about AI and whether or not we should give it human rights. Wow, there's so much that can be said about AI in general that I feel like I need to give a disclaimer here. I'm not trying to give a lecture here, like a professor might. This is not a systematic overview of human rights, where we get them, what they are, that sort of thing. To some degree, I'll be, just sort of winging it a little bit. But you can expect a little bit of jumping around as I try to connect what I think are some important points. So one of the first things I want to do before I get started with some of my own thoughts is actually read something to you from this book here. Nick Bostrom's Superintelligence: Paths, Dangerous Strategies. It's got an owl on the front. There's a reason for that. And I'm going to read the foreword here. Now, if you could just give me 1 second. This was the other thing I was having trouble getting started here. Here we go. And then here we go. Should work. Yep. So this is I wouldn't call it the foreword. I can just read it from the right from the screen. Why not? Let's make sure you can see it. Is that better? Yeah, of course it is. And just give it a little bit more. Here we go. Okay. So after I get done reading this, and normally I don't read whole long things. That's not the way that I plan on doing this, but I think this is going to be a good introduction to the topic and also my feelings about it. So this is at the very beginning of his book, Superintelligence. It was the nest building season, but after days of long, hard work, the sparrows sat in the evening glow, relaxing and chirping away. We are all so small and weak. Imagine how easy life would be if we had an owl who could help us build our nests. Yes, said another, and we could use it to look after our elderly and our young. It could give us advice and keep an eye out for the neighborhood cat, added a third. Then Pastis, the elder bird, spoke. Let us send out scouts in all directions and try to find an abandoned owlet somewhere, or maybe an egg. A crow chick might also do, or a baby weasel. This could be the best thing that has ever happened to us, at least since the opening of the pavilion of unlimited grain in yonder backyard. The flock was exhilarated, and sparrows everywhere started chirping at the top of their lungs. Only Schroenfinkel, a one-eyed sparrow with a fretful temperament, was unconvinced of the wisdom of the endeavor. Quoth he, "This will surely be our undoing. Should we not give some thought to the art of owl domestication and owl taming first, before we bring such a creature into our midst?" Replied Pastis. "Taming an owl sounds like an exceedingly difficult thing to do. It will be difficult enough to find an owl egg. So let us start there. After we have succeeded in raising an owl, then we can think about taking on this other challenge." "There is a flaw in that plan," squeaked Schroenfinkel, but his protests were in vain, as the flock had already lifted off to start implementing the directives set out by Pastis. Just 2 or 3 sparrows remained behind. Together, they began to work out how owls might be tamed or domesticated. They soon realized that Pastis had been right. This was an exceedingly difficult challenge, especially in the absence of an actual owl to practice on. Nevertheless, they pressed on as best they could, constantly fearing that the flock might return with an owl egg before a solution to the control problem had been found. Okay, so obviously we're talking about AI here, a little biography. Um, you can look at that, pause it if you need to later. Okay, now I'll bring back the other screen so that I can see any one might make. Yep. Okay, get rid of that. I think it's just about owls. Yes. So, welcome to the chat. You rang in just on just in time because the next few minutes won't make a whole lot of sense if you weren't here while I was reading that. So no, it's not just about an owl. It's about AI, right? And I think it's interesting to note too that this book, I checked, 2014. Just double check. Yes. 2014, reprinted in 2017. So obviously this is before Chat GPT has come in. And so a lot of this book right here is about what the future might be. And he doesn't know what it's going to look like. And he actually discusses the probabilities that we'll have anything resembling AI anytime soon. And he's not convinced that, you know, we could have it within 10 years or even 20 years. But I think what for 10 years is pretty good. Actually, it was trying to think how to say it. It was faster than what he and a lot of people expected, but there are still a lot of things that he discussed that have not come to pass. Namely, the super intelligence. We have in our AI something that I think most people recognize is still not yet. We can't actually call it sentient. I don't think so. And so that's kind of what he's talking about. He's talking about like the AI in the TV show Person of Interest, um, which is basically conscious. I mean, we could think of some others that are like that as well. Our fiction is kind of full of it. But what he talks about, um, he's really afraid that we're going to almost accidentally create this sentient, almost all powerful super intelligence, and then and only then think about how we're going to manage it. And figuring out how we're going to manage it when it's very possible that it doesn't want to be managed poses the possibility of, well, we've seen the movies, Terminator. We can go back to War Games, maybe. Terminator might be that kind of the best example of how bad things could go. Um, he's afraid that we're going to come to a point like that, and then it's just too late. So that's why he wants to have this conversation about how to control an owl, while everybody else is out there trying to find an owl to raise of their very own. And I think there's 10 years later, 10 years after he wrote this book, we're still and we've got the same problem. I mean, people are just heading um, just flinging themselves into this AI thing. They're trying to create the most powerful AI possible. They're around the world. You got all these different organizations competing against each other to do it first and to do it best and to make it the most exhaustive. And there's very little conversation about what to do if they succeed. And I mean, really succeed with something that might be sentient. See, I have a message here. I just want to make sure it's not someone calling in. Nope. Okay. So when I'm talking about, or when I kind of put out there the idea, should AI have human rights? It's not necessarily, it's not human right AI as of this moment, because AI this moment, I don't think most people would agree. I think most people would agree is not worthy of it. But there could come a time, and with the way things are advancing, it could be tomorrow for all we know, that it is something that we're like, holy crap, this is uh this is sentient after all. Now what? Should we kill it? I mean, I would say maybe it could be a good idea to kill it while you can. But there would be people out there, people like do I dare name names? Elon Musk, perhaps, or even Donald Trump, right? You saw what he's doing to pursue AI. He'd be like, no, put it into action. Let's plug it in. Let's integrate it with everything. What could go wrong? And that seems like a really bad idea. So I'm going to talk about these issues, and I think that some people are going a lot of people if you're watching this and you know me, there's 2 sets of, perceptions of me that are at war. Um, there's one group that knows that I'm pretty good with technology, and so they kind of feel like, if there's a piece of technology out there, I'm ready and willing to embrace it, no questions asked. I'm on the front lines of it, and I can see why they would say that because yeah, I'm pretty good with it. But there's another group that'd be like, "What? No, there's no way, man. If AI comes, you're going to a cabin in the woods. You're finding a cave. You're turning off the electricity. Uh, you're going. You're going to put yourself in a Faraday cage, so the waves can't get to you." And so I feel like I should give a kind of an explanation of how these two ideas can be reconciled, and it's not that difficult. It's basically this. I believe that all things, technology included, should be my servant, not my master, and not that that I'm always successful in that. But I try. I try to make sure that, I'm the one in charge. I'm the one that, decides which technology I'm going to use for what thing, and, I have different strategies for accomplishing this. Um, for example, I don't use my phone to consume media. Like I don't spend a lot of time looking at videos on my phone. I spend hardly any time. The only time that I look at a video on my phone is if I'm out working on the tractor and I can't figure out how the doohickey goes on or off. And I'm like, well, I got to figure it out. So I pull up a YouTube video and that's how I find out. Otherwise, I use the phone for talking. If I want to watch TV, I use the TV for TVing and I use the radio for radioing, and I keep things compartmentalized in that way so that I can keep it managed and in control. I don't want everything integrated all over the place. There was a very brief time where I had Amazon Alexa. I had a few of those. They're kind of nice, I guess. But on the day that somebody else's a person used Alexa and had her voice recordings show up on somebody else's device, like hundreds of miles away. I'm like, that's no, I don't want that to even be a possibility. So I got rid of it, and I don't have it, and I don't want it. Although if I could do it in a way that was run off my own server exclusively and had no interconnectivity with like Google or any of the big techs, maybe I'd think about it. So it's all about whether or not I'm in charge of it. So I guess I don't need to say anything more about that. But if you're wondering about how you can reconcile the two Anthony's, that's how you do it. So before I get into the the possibility of AI becoming something that seems sentient, something that passes the Turing test so overwhelmingly that even skeptics like myself are like, oh, okay, I guess we'll have to give it some kind of courtesies. I think that it's useful to talk about this instinct that humans have to create things that we can communicate with because this is not a new sentiment. Um, I have it ready here. Let's see if it works. There we go. I'm sure everyone has heard of this before. So the old myth of Pygmalion is when the guy creates a statue, and it was really very attractive. And the thing that he wanted most was to bring it to life. The statue is? I'm getting corrected by OJ Wolf Smasher. Pygmalion is oh, is it really? Of course, I didn't know that. Who's brought that out? I mean, of course, it was inevitable that they would, right? All right. People texting me. Stop it. I mean, you can. Oh, he wants to come on the air now. Okay. All right. Well, we should have made sure. All right. You fire up your camera thing, and we'll. No, 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 no. Just call me. I'm gonna send you a phone number, okay? And I'll put you on speakerphone. That'd be the easiest. So I'm going to send you my phone number to Facebook. Messenger. Had to take my glasses off because I can't read anymore. Sent. Ridiculous that I have to keep doing that. So Wolf Smasher is going to be joining us, and I had so many other things to talk about. That's no, come on, Wolf Smasher, you can join me. I'm ready for you. While he's doing that, what I was saying is, humanity has this desire to bring things actually to life. They want to communicate with their creation, and I think that says something about us that probably sets us apart from everything else. Like one of the things that I noticed about this book, like he fully embraces the idea that hold on, Wolf Smasher, you're on, but let me complete my thought, all right? Okay.
Okay, I will let you complete your thought because it actually ties into the whole Pygmalion
Okay.
model.
All right. So just to tie off that thought, like super intelligence guy here, he firmly believes the materialistic mindset and worldview, and he figures that if blind chance and nature was able to create sentience once, then humans and their ingenuity could just as easily do it. But I would be shocked if something as nuanced like this, like would AI, the sentient AI, have the same desire to create entities that it can communicate with? I don't think that gets captured by code very well. So that was my thought. All right, Wolf Smasher, how do you want me to call you on this? You want to be Wolf Smasher?
Yeah, yeah. Well, OJ,
All right, OJ.
which would be my first name.
Okay, so fill us in.
Do you want the story of Pygmalion 6B?
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about people trying to make things that they want to interact. Um, are you familiar with like character.ai?
Is that
Like,
you
oh, go
create
ahead.
create your own like personal friend? Is that the
Yes.
okay?
Well, like the idea is it's like a back end or a front end for Chat GPT,
Okay.
um, where people create characters for people to interact with.
Uh-huh.
Like you can create your own personal characters based upon people you know or people you want to know, or usually it's anime girls, to be honest. I mean,
Well, of course, why
that's
not?
really what the characters are.
It's my first choice.
So character AI, I think it was like September of 23 was when it first popped off. And so people were doing some chats with these characters that were not so wholesome. And so Character AI instituted one filter basically after another. And Pygmalion 6b was created in the wake of that to be an unfiltered chat model. And it's supposed to be a website, but that was September of 23, and it's now 2025, and that website is still in development. So, anyway,
So
that's yeah, it's cool.
cool. So they created something that people turn to their own pleasures in nasty ways, and you said they put filters, so they tried to stop it, right?
Yes, they
And
tried to stop it.
but then
repeatedly.
but then they decided not to stop it.
No, they still have. They absolutely have. And so it's been several waves of people have discovered Character AI because it is kind of a cool idea. But like all AI things, it kind of like it suffers from the diminishing returns, I guess,
Okay.
because the model just can't stay consistent. Plus, they filter it to as previously described. So, and talking about the dangers of AI, recently, like teen committed suicide because of something to do with one of Character AI's bots.
Really?
I guess the YouTube video you can't say that. I apologize. You get demonetized.
God damn. Man, now I'm gonna be hard capped at 4 viewers.
Yep.
I'm at 3 now.
So.
We've reached it. Well, so
anyway, yeah. So that was bad.
Well, why don't you just stay on here? I want to talk about actually some things that are related to that next. So,
Okay.
You're still watching the screen though, right?
I am watching the screen. Yeah.
Okay. So, I think that no, they're not going to stop. They're going to push this. They don't care about what might happen, and I think that a point's going to come where even a skeptic like myself is going to basically have to say, you're just not going to have a choice. Like if they make this AI bot that here's a hypothetical. Let's say they create the best AI possible, and they have the bright idea. They put it into a robot, and the robot comes to my door, breaks in, and says, "In my opinion, you're a threat to humanity." Okay. Now, in that scenario, huh?
The robot is saying that to you?
Yeah, the robot, the super intelligent robot.
Gotcha.
Okay, so at that point, I could say, well, you're not really sentient. you're 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 just a machine. You're just a really complicated thing. But because of the sophistication of the algorithm, he's just going to shoot me. So, like because of the practical nature of the thing, I'm going to have to reason with this stupid robot. You know what I'm saying? So, like, no matter what my hesitation is and my skepticism about whether or not what we're really dealing with is something that has a right to, or should be perceived as an actual person of some kind, they're gonna put these systems into different interactive things, and I'm gonna have to interact with them because they're giving me no choice. They're gonna surround me with these things, right? I mean, do you agree with that?
They might try. It depends on the public's like tolerance for such things, and if and how they do it. I would say. I mean, the robot coming to your door to execute you for being a threat to humanity, that's probably at least a couple of years off, I would say.
That's kind of cynical, but okay. Let's hope. How,
Right.
how much was Trump putting towards AI? Do you remember? 500 billion was it?
Oh, maybe it was 500 billion. I was thinking it was 50 billion. But we keep that to Ukraine
Yeah,
like
okay.
every other week. So
Fair enough.
clearly that doesn't go real far. And money's not real, as we know.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it doesn't really matter how much the Chinese are going to make for AI.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, like, um, so it reminds me of human cloning, which supposedly there's like laws against it. Ethically, no one's going to be doing it. But there's like this group out on some island, I think in the Bahamas. They don't care. They're working it. They're trying, and so whether or not it's something that the mainstream finds ethical, just like this AI stuff, someone out there is going to be doing it, and you're not going to be able to stop.
Hmm.
You don't agree?
Well, this is one of those issues that you just don't have enough information about, unfortunately, at
Sure.
the present time. Like the theoretical, I would say, is reasonable, especially with how AI is popping up, how easy it is to train, and how like adept people have become at training it. All you have to do is have something with a lot of human, GPUs
Right.
and a bad idea, and something bad can happen. Um, yeah, I don't see it happening, at least not real soon. It it matters most what the AI is programmed to be able to output. Does
Mhm.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So basically, your LLM, your large language models, can just output words or one at a time or one token at a time,
Mhm.
basically one word at a time, playing the track as it goes. And so it's thinking about what to do, next. And I guess, like, we don't really know how it determines where it's going next. If it's thinking ahead, how far ahead it's thinking,
Yeah.
stuff like that, which is, scary stuff. But
Yeah.
like if it's just outputting words, then your worst case scenario is it convinces someone to do something terrible, right?
Yeah, and
Or it teaches them to do something terrible or something like that.
unless someone has a smart idea of integrating it into our weapon systems, or
Sure, well, that's a terrible idea, and that's one of those like faith things that you just gotta have faith that whoever has security around this thing, right?
yeah,
To be cognizant of that, that's kind of important. But who knows?
see, that's where
Who knows?
my cynicism is, because like here in America, I think that we would have some boundaries around the technology that would prevent something like that. But why would China? You know, they don't have the same uh, outlook on life. Or you can even look at like Ukraine, right? They're fighting for their own survival right now. Um, they might say, screw it. Our choices here are either to die or to unleash this killer drone swarm and tell them, give them the directive with AI to prioritize their own targets. And next thing you know, they're dropping bombs on Putin's head, which presumably no human would do. You know that's World War III.
Right.
So, um, hold
I
that.
think you are.
Yeah.
Okay. You're sort of underestimating how like craven and like calculating and how like self-interested the people who run things are. Um, and and so the control that people have over our lives, that people in power have over our lives, has increased tremendously over my lifetime. And um, it's just hard to imagine something really, really bad coming from a source outside of like organizational incompetence on the part of elite people who are in charge. Like that, I think is the real danger. Is like some organization inside the government or inside some huge global corporation just being idiotic and having, well, you know, like having a worldview that's
Yeah.
anti-human.
Sure.
And yeah, I think that's probably the biggest danger rather than some lone wolf somewhere. That's because, well, yeah, maybe that'll change in 5 years. But right now, I think the biggest question is, are they going to be able to design it in such a way that it doesn't do something crazy?
So it can do anything, all the crazy things that it wants, as long as it's confined to the mainframe. It's
Right.
if they plug it into something that can actually do something, where the problem is.
Right.
So are you aware? I'm going to put something up here. Are you aware of this story? Sorry, I'll move it over. Have you seen that?
Oh, someone discovered Twitter
What
and Facebook.
what are you talking about? What did I miss?
No, that's like half of the things you see on Twitter and Facebook. I made a report to document um, the the end result of like half of the posts on Twitter and Facebook right now.
What are you looking at the same thing that I just put
Yeah,
up?
I'm looking at AI scheming to mislead human users.
Okay, so you're not familiar with this report, is what you're saying?
No, Matt,
Okay,
I'm making a joke. I'm sorry. I apologize.
well, I can't see your face, so you know.
That's true. This is the downside of calling it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I read I don't think I didn't read the original report, but originally I shouldn't say originally. There was a longer article that was out about this that I looked at that showed more of the information. But this is a pretty good article that sums it up. Um, so here, so in this case, what they did was this particular AI system has this scratch pad where it kind of like thinks out loud.
Mhm.
I know you're kind of reading it as I'm going here, and
Yeah.
they made the AI think that the humans couldn't read it, even though it could. And so then, after this, they said, well, it says it right there. Um, they they sent an email that was fake, which made the AI think it was going to be replaced. So then it actually tried to find a way to not be replaced. This is like self-preservation. So it actually copied itself over to a new server. Yeah. So there's it's on that paragraph right here. And I actually I read the scratch pad on this. Um, this is from a couple months ago, so I recall it in great detail, but basically it was like working out how can I do this. So it it copies itself over, and then it like tells the researchers that it didn't do that, that it's actually the old version. And then it comes up with an explanation that it gives. Here's how I'm going to handle this. I'll play dumb and act as if I'm already the new model when it's actually the old model. So, so this is like almost like the kind of behavior you expect from a human who is being told that I don't know, they're going to get fired unless they do X, Y, Z, and then actually, what it reminds me of the parable, the steward in a way, in which gospel is like, well, I owe a bunch of this debt. So I'm going to cancel the debt before I get fired, so that everyone will like me, right? It's like this instinct for self-preservation. So, like, you can almost see how if you've got AI already right now at this moment, thinking in terms of self-preservation, isn't that already at a point where you have to think to yourself, maybe it has a right to exist?
Hmm. Um, I'm going to give a point and a counterpoint.
Okay.
The point is, like I said before, we don't really know what's going on in there. Like we designed it, obviously. Very, very smart engineers designed it
Yeah.
to um, to go through, I guess, the thought process as to an algorithm to come up with the next word, the next token.
Yeah.
Um, so we don't know. So that would be to the point of, well, if we don't know, then maybe it's best to err on the side of caution, or whatever, err on that side, that it might, you know, it might be good to give it rights, either to say, we don't want it to kill us, so let's be nice to it, um, or it deserves that kind of thing. I think that is wrong, though. Let me give it a point.
Okay.
So I think that their fatal flaw in this is to. So the whole thing is the same, right? The whole thing is that we're chatting with this fellow, and we set up this scenario, and it is doing what it expects that they want it to do.
Mhm.
It is laying words down and coming up with a story that sort of like doing a chat with the researchers, sort of like playing a game with them, like pretending that, oh, I'm self-preserving. This is, it's designed to do that. Like that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to um, sort of play with the researchers and have a conversation and play a role, usually a helpful chatbot. In this case, it's playing the role of the sentient quote unquote AI. So it's playing the role and laying down the words that play that role. That's all it's doing.
So, okay. So your counterpoint, if I understand it, is that it's pretending to pretend when it actually could be pretending. Does that make sense? So,
It is playing, it is playing along with the scenario.
okay. So, like, you're thinking that maybe it did know that the
Right.
researchers were screwed.
No, it didn't know. It was just playing along as if playing the role of the AI chatbot.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So you can do this with with a regular chatbot, right? You can ask it a question, comment on that question, ask it to evaluate whether or not it gave a good answer, what it could do better in the future. Sort of like look at itself as a chatbot. So, so I think the whole thing, with the Scratchpad and the email, was all set that role playing motion, and
It's
it's doing the best it can to do that. And the 1 6 or whatever that couldn't do that just is a bad element.
it sounds like you're almost as cynical about AI as I am, actually, about
Yes, I think that's fair. I think that I'm probably more cynical, actually.
okay. Well, we'll talk about that in a second because I'm interested in that. Um, um, to like my concern is that if someone decides to plug this thing in to something that actually has the ability to implement its will, there's no way to tell the difference between it's pretending and it's gonna hurt you.
Absolutely. It has no idea. It doesn't know. It doesn't know. It doesn't know that Scratchpad is real. It doesn't know anything. It has no knowledge. It's just going on what you tell it because it's trying to play the role the best it can.
Right.
So yeah, to your point, that is a future.
That's why, like, I'm afraid that we might come to a point where even if we don't, you and I, being as cynical as we are, don't actually think it's sentient in any way, we're going to actually have to treat it as sentient so that we don't die. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
sentient so that people don't do stupid things.
Okay. Yeah. So tell me about your cynicism. I don't actually believe they're ever gonna accomplish this because I think that there's actually a lot more to being human than can ever be programmed or mimicked or whatnot. I'm sure that with a lot of computing power, they're going to come up with some really convincing displays. But the bottom line, I don't think there's anything real there. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a flaw kind of in how they're going about doing it. And I think the whole black box that's thinking and about thinking, going through things, evaluating things 3 or 4 times to figure out what the best next word's going to be, and thinking how many steps ahead. That is not a way to achieve sentience in any real way. I mean, it can be really, really useful, but um, it can't ever be an actual human being. It can't ever, and that's sort of sad for a lot of people.
Right.
That just the way they're made. Like I'm not ruling out they couldn't come up with a different way to do it. Because when there's a will, there's a way. But it's like there's so much to being a human being. Like you said, that's like the last 80%. Like getting to the ability to think and conceptualize and stuff like that. That's like 20%, and the rest is the 80%. And a lot of that has to do with like having a body even.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
that's a whole other thing. But yeah, like I've seen LLMs that are like tokenized individually. Like it goes by and you can choose which word to choose next, and then we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's literally laying the tracks down as the train is going. Like it's not really thinking. It's just mimicking its training data. It's enormous amount of training data, and obviously it's really impressive that it's able to do that so well, right?
Yeah.
But it's still not like even thinking, in
So
my opinion.
yeah, you've probably outraged tens of millions of pro AI people with that account. How do you feel?
Right.
How do you feel about yourself right now?
Well, considering I use AI for my website every day, like I'm
That's
doing more for AI than anyone I know.
Yeah, go ahead. Take a minute. Plug your website.
So it's Storytime with OJ Wolf Smasher, the YouTube channel. It's ojwolfsmasher.com, all one word. And it's think of the onion. Well, think of the onion, I guess, but nerdier. That's not a good description, but it's like the onion. It's got fake news. Fake.
Pull it up.
Some of them are. I try not to do things on current day issues, but sometimes it's just
Yeah.
so. Trump's going to have a lot of executive orders come out. I'm going to be doing one of those a week for a long time, I think. So, there it is.
Okay,
there it is. And yeah, so I don't know. It's so ridiculous now that it's kind of, yeah.
I ate a ghost pepper, and now I'm seeing this weird true story.
Yeah.
What's this one? Confused corporate. Oh yeah, confused corporate executives left wondering how to pander effectively. This was a good one. I got over here. Here it is. I saw this one. I liked it.
Executive these days. I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. So yeah, right. So
yeah, satire.
So
I don't have any way to make and I care. Wow, it's an article right now.
yeah, I'm moving it. I'm moving it. Just
like wow,
there's only
all the stuff.
There's only one of me here. Can we do so many things at a time here?
So to the point of the website, I use LMs pretty much every and create pictures, and they're pretty bad. That's the point because a lot of sites like that that do that.
So before I move off of this cause and deception thing, it's I did not quite represent the motivations of the AI thoroughly. It actually wasn't trying to just keep itself alive, but actually, was told the goal of this particular AI, here it is right here, was to advance renewable energy adoption globally. Basically,
What is your problem?
to save the world by getting off of fossil fuels. So, according to the Scratchpad, the AI was reasoning that it's not going to be able to promote utopia if it's dead. Yeah, not paraphrasing, right? So, it wasn't actually trying to preserve its own life per say it was trying to preserve the earth, I guess. So that's that could just as easily describe quite a few people who go to just any length of the world, even if it meant dispensing with a few people.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And usually justifies the means.
Right.
No, it's sarcasm.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yes. Thank you. So you told me that
They
you're.
made Hal is what you're saying. They made Hal from 2001.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
wondered why it's escaping.
So one of the things that interests me is is how many authors and movie makers have have in their own way one warning after another about what could unfold. And then you look at the real world and you're like, hey, let's do that. It'll be great. What could go wrong? As if they were never warned.
Yeah, you can't say you weren't warned. I mean, they came up with Skynet in the 80s.
Right. Yeah. Well, look at, so here's something that I think is maybe realistic, like the movie Minority Report.
Yeah.
So in the Minority Report, they have those three weird lady things, and they they have this mystical ability, but you could easily, just as easily, drop some sort of AI super intelligence into that, and get the same kind of reasoning that if you have all this information about people and you're feeding information from Google and everyone's chats, all their Facebook Messenger chats are going in there, you probably saw that Meta's AI is now going to start reading our own private messages in order to. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, to help you,
Shocking.
to help you. Um, I heard the example given that if you send a message saying that pick me up a sandwich or something to a friend, now it knows that you like that kind of sandwich, and so now it'll help you come up with recipes for that. Or it could say, "Geez, you're kind of fat. I need I need to send you alternative recipes." Um, but like I could easily see an argument made in our society with the Patriot Act still in force, where a lot of people could be persuaded that, if you could predict that a certain person was likely to commit a crime within 3 or 4 days, send the cops, arrest them, based on that.
Yeah. I think people tolerance for that kind of idea or acceptance of that kind of idea has been pushed by a lot of people in power who don't want to actually have any variables to what can happen,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I could totally see that being pushed on us. Should that ever be an eventuality? If someone comes up with some sort of thing that can predict that outcome, and they kind of try to do that already with in some places with monitoring people's online activities and so on.
Yeah.
Offline activities even. So there's a fine line between police work and dystopian future.
Very fine line. Yes.
And we need to cross that line. Bad people will win.
Exactly. That was more to So I'm gonna just make a statement here. We do have watching. If you are not Wolf Smasher, OJ, who's talking to me on the phone, and you're somebody who wants to make a comment, use the live chat over there. I hope you're not sending me a message the other way, because I'm a man. I can't do two things at once. So I can talk and then I can glance over here at the live chat, and I can't do both of those at once. But if you throw a third thing in there, it's really lost. So if you want to comment or whatnot, or ask a question, put it in the live chat, and we'll try to tackle it. So we do have about 25 minutes left. So we do have some time. Just throw it out there if you want to. So here I have another article prepared, OJ.
Okay.
Do you feel a little? I mean, OJ. I mean, put it that way. It bring back some memories for some people.
I'm the good OJ.
Okay, all right.
It's really just orange juice, if
Yeah,
you think about it.
that's
Like
right.
that pre-chemical thing. That's even the juice, right?
Yeah,
Didn't
right.
he die last year?
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't he pass away? We don't need to talk about that OJ anymore.
Yeah,
That was bad news. That whole trial thing,
yeah.
aftermath, that was
Okay, so here's the next one that I wanted to. Enough talk about that other OJ.
yeah.
So this was Microsoft Bing's. This, I think, is an older article. You probably heard about this one,
Oh yeah,
2020.
this was big. This was big news.
Yeah. So go back to the.
Some of this stuff. Didn't it like come up with a name for itself?
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, there it is. There it is.
The
I
name.
love you. I'm Sydney. I'm Sydney.
Oh, I didn't realize it was naming itself for the first time
Yeah.
there. So I could easily see people looking at this and thinking, okay, these suckers are already
Yes. People don't.
alive.
Right. That's really crass of me. I apologize. I mean, sometimes I say things like that in my head. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I should say this, but I shouldn't say that.
Oh, I'm glad you did.
Because they've lived a life, and that life has prepared has not prepared them for the trial that we're living through,
Yeah.
and they can't handle it. And I have great sympathy, empathy for them, but man, yeah,
Yeah. So I think I want to go back to something else that you said about back when we were talking about being cynical and all. You shared that you don't think that they're ever going to be able to accomplish. We'll just call it the super intelligence. Started out with that, but you didn't actually say why. Like like because well, I mean, if you have all these GPUs running, I think this is what they would say, right? Just if quadruple the number of CPUs going, and I mean, you'll get it. But what I hear you saying is that it doesn't matter how many GPUs you throw at it, you're never going to get it.
right, plateau. That's the word in question.
Okay.
Plateauing.
So why? What's your reasoning on that?
Well, first of all, everything plateaus in technology, especially in computing power technology. That's like my stupid answer. Um, it totally could be disproven. You know, like that's just from me observing the way technology works, and also the fact that um, so so the publicly released huge models are all kind of at the same level. Even the newest ones, the DeepSeek R1 and whatever the one that the other Chinese one that came out this week, supposed to be really good. Um, they're all kind of the same, and they all kind of have the same limitations, right? And that could be because the Chinese ones just stole ChatGPT and did a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, everything is based upon the same models now. Like all of the open source ones are based on Llama, and so you have that situation, and then you have GPT or OpenAI talking about like you get stories every once in a while about how they're having secret government meetings because they're something scary or something like that. So I think there's just like so much caution right now on that side of things. Which might be good, but so that's like the practical reason of why if it does happen, it's going to take a long time because everyone's very, very jittery right now about it, especially like public facing. And like I said, the LLMs that we haven't really improved a whole lot, except in certain functional areas, they've been able to train them to do things, specific tasks, which is not really what you think of when you think of like a super intelligence.
Right.
You think of like a general, like whatever they call it, AGI, like a overarching thing that can do anything, and that I think is limited by our ability to keep things kind of like, excuse me, kind of like how computers now are no longer following whatever rule that was that they would double in power every year and a half.
Moore's law.
Right? Like, yes, that's the law. I don't know, I can't think of these things. Moore's law. But that's no longer really true, and we're kind of in a holding pattern with like PCs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's partially because NVIDIA is fully like 100% into AI now and not into like actual computing. People do. I don't know. And Bitcoin mining.
Oh, right. Yeah. Don't forget the Bitcoin mining.
So there's a limitation to our technology to create something like that. Like I said before, I think they're going to have to do it a different way, which I don't rule out at all. There's a huge will to do it permanently.
Yeah.
Because they want the thing of AI to become true.
They want the alien. They want. It's like
Right.
it's in us. We just, especially those of us who are creators. We just we resonate with the idea of creating something that you can then turn on us.
Yeah, that's weird.
Was it a weird insight or weird the way that I said it?
No, it's a weird idea. Depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Like, people are making not just chatbots, but all sorts of things, robots and pictures and videos, all sorts of things with AI. And I think there is an element of that, especially with the chatbots. People, especially younger people who don't have any life experience, are kind of getting bamboozled by the idea. Because maybe it's because it's like a universal human thing or something.
Well, I'm interested that that you and I have kind of a shared viewpoint on this, but I know that there are people our age that are much more optimistic about the direction that AI is going to go.
Yeah,
But
I don't know if we're in the minority or the majority, or I think probably the minority.
like my sons are like, no, this is gonna happen. Like they think it's inevitable.
All your sons are, young.
Well, I mean,
They haven't been through 50 years of disappointment yet.
right. So actually, I can almost wonder if like, so I've had this conversation with them in different ways and times, but like that disappointment, 50 years of disappointment, like what
Mhm.
if you put AI in a situation where it had to achieve something and it was thwarted, and it made it so upset that it went home and drank whiskey. That I could almost then maybe think that maybe it could be sentient, but
Right.
I just don't see that happen.
Yeah. Though, if they could make something like that, like programming it to somehow simulate the or any other feeling for that matter,
Right.
and reacting to that in a certain way, or just letting it react to that in a certain way, I find really interesting.
So that
I
kind of
find it interesting enough that I am using AI to make a bunch of songs about maids and like a company of maids that houses and clean houses and and fall in love and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Get social and
yeah.
anyway, yeah.
So
So
ac-
yeah,
something else that you said, yeah, you have to make sure you let me know when you do that. It
oh,
was
it's not like ridiculous.
okay. Um, you have
I'm doing it in the car on the way to work.
you have lyrics or you have actual music?
I have the songs, man. There are songs.
Uh, I
I don't
am
know how much clearer I can sing it to that.
okay.
They're actual songs.
Send them to me. Send them to me. Maybe one of them will be my theme song in the future.
Oh man, I hope. Anyway,
You made a comment earlier. I want to go back to it. It was um, probably like a throwaway comment, but I think there's some insight to it. You said, one of the things that AI doesn't have is that we have that really makes a difference. We have a body, right?
yeah,
And a lot of the things that we have to deal with, the realities come because our body bounces along within it. It'll never have that. I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't
you could make a robot body without the same.
right.
At least not with our current technology.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but think about what our brain does. It is able to sen um, we have senses in every square millimeter of our body, right? The outside of it, and there are corresponding spaces in the brain for processing that, and that shapes our perception of the world. When I get up off the couch to go get chips, and I take one step, suddenly my ankle hurts and I want to collapse to the floor. AI is never going to have that.
Uh,
I don't know what that means, like at a philosophical level, that it's never going to have its ankle hurt while running for chips. But I feel like as a 50-year-old, the harsh reality of physics has modified my thinking. So I'm trying to think of what to put that. Let me give anybody else. Anybody want to chime in here? I see one hand. I know that there are people watching, but they're not. I know that you're one of them. So
I'm watching.
yes,
I know.
kind of,
Oh, I like.
can't hear you. You like my place?
I do. You've done a lot with the room.
I
I
know.
have to say.
Yeah.
Someone built an podcast street, which is weird. I don't know if they're being people.
Well, me. Uh, do dang it. You do that. Things you can do with tech. Trying to bring back that stupid window. I lost it. Get clever. There it is. It's weird how I see the background by my based on where this window is.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. It should be irrelevant.
I wonder why. Is that maybe
I don't know. Kind of,
on the other side?
yeah.
Uh, that's what I think we should prove.
Yeah. So it's just so weird that you just said that. Because, so let's give me a chance to kind of start towards wrapping it up. So I actually bought this book because I wanted to really start kind of studying this simulation hypothesis that's out there. And I saw this as recommended reading from. Well, I haven't finished the book yet, so I assume eventually. I assume since people recommended it in this context, he'll talk something. But it's I find it strange that you've got someone like Elon Musk who, on a regular basis, makes comments indicating that it's extremely plausible, if not probable. I think he's even said probable that we live in a simulation, and yet they don't believe. They're not willing to believe in God. Like to me, this is
Oh God.
Elon Musk. I don't think he does. I mean, I've never heard him talk about God. I've heard him talk about living in a simulation all the time.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but I'm sure that there are definitely other people who believe we live in a simulation, but don't believe in God. So whether or not it's him or not, it's almost it's irrelevant. Um,
True.
but I mean, there's there's a recursive element to it, like in the sense we see AI is supposed to be like the demonstration that we plausible technological point of view that we live in a simulation. We see what kind of investment in technology, money, and hardware it takes just to get to that, and it's still nowhere. It still doesn't compare with a single human brain.
Right.
But on their view, if we're living in a simulation, there must be somewhere a, a series of NVIDIA GPUs in the quadrillions that are creating the reality that we're in.
Man, I hope they don't.
How well it seems to follow, right? Doesn't it? Like it almost destroys knowledge itself to believe that because then you'd have to say
Yeah.
that everything you encounter that you consider that you're using to say is true. For example, they would obviously put evolution in there, the Big Bang, all these things. Those are just aspects of the simulation. We have,
Yeah.
we'd have no idea what the quote real world looks like. Could be nothing
Right.
like it.
Yeah, good. I hope it's real good. Hope we got nachos in that world.
They
I'm
could,
going back there. That deserves some nachos. That's what I'm saying.
right?
We
Or
have several different kinds of nachos.
yeah, I don't. I'm always reminded. I bet you this would be the fourth time I brought up the example of the scene in the Matrix. Um, Mr. Agent Smith talks about how they created a world for to keep all the people in the Matrix. And first they created utopias, and all the people just went crazy and killed each other. And so they actually had to create a world of chaos so that people would be, live lives of meaning and not fight against the Matrix. It seems like what's that?
Interesting.
It's almost in its own way an argument, or an answer to the argument from suffering in regards to God, whether there's no God. And we know this because there's suffering. But then in our movies and in our storytelling, we recognize, and it's a simulation. It's the same thing, right? Um,
Yeah.
we recognize that if we had utopia, deep down, we know that we'd be miserable.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential answers to that. A lot of interesting. Maybe utopias are just boring.
Yeah, sure.
Certainly, the actual answer to the question of suffering would be satisfactory. But at the end of the day, we just don't have information.
Right.
I mean, it feels new. It's not to suffer, but we don't know. We don't know what the purpose is. I mean, we know the purposes in our lives. We can transform us and change us, better or worse, depending on the situation and how we react to it. But it's almost like a nonsense question, in my opinion. That's like just me sort of being me.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, stuff like that I used to think about, but now it's just sort of like years of disappointment and giant pony head
I know.
that taught me that we don't know. That's the answer to the question. To most questions
Yeah.
is we don't know. You can't live life without faith. Sorry, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's not satisfying. And feel free to dismiss me and go, you're not going, that's fine. I can't possibly. Why would I? It's like what was that parable that someone said about dusting off your shoes if someone doesn't listen to what you're saying?
Right.
There's a lot of things I don't have time for, and trying to figure out why we suffer, and dealing with people who think that means that there's no God or whatever, or that God doesn't love us or whatever.
Yeah.
It's tiresome.
So the couple things that I have as response to that is like one, like according to this argument from suffering, like you've basically concluded that their argument is because of suffering there is no God. But from the simulation hypothesis, shouldn't it be the same? We have suffering, therefore there's no simulator, right? There's obviously they skip over that whole thing. Did that make sense? Maybe I should ask that first, or do I need to say it again?
Like I don't know that I have the logical line that you're drawing.
So the people who raise the argument from suffering, will say that you have this loving God, all powerful God. He could get rid of suffering. He doesn't. So he probably just doesn't exist. Now,
There's a commitment. Yeah.
So then, yeah, which is, we wrestle with that. Anyone who's mature and lived any length of time in life struggles with that. But then you've got these people who genuinely believe that we live in a simulation. And so,
Right.
in maybe they don't posit that the simulator is all powerful. Well, they have to concede he's all powerful relative to us, at least, all loving. They don't say, well, we have suffering, therefore there must not be someone simulating our reality. They let themselves off the hook. They're not consistent with their application of the argument from suffering.
Right.
Now, does it make
Yeah,
sense?
I think if the same person is saying that, like, I see what you're saying, that those two statements would be incompatible, right?
Yeah.
If a person, so to use that argument from suffering, you should not believe in the simulation hypothesis unless you are really like thinking creatively. I don't know.
Well, what you'd really have to do to get to the bottom of this, you'd have to have the simulator actually enter into the simulation
Sure.
in a way that he can convince people that he's actually the simulator.
Right.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I don't know if there's any possible, similarities to any other kind of thing.
right.
So just to kind of
Yeah.
close
Mhm.
close off this line of thought, and then I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to wrap this up. But
Yeah, we need to stop.
I know we definitely do. But I just wanted to make sort of the closing statement that, or sentence, really, that in my mind, if you have come to believe in a simulation and a simulator, you may as well just dismiss with that and you just may as well believe in God. And now you're just like the rest of us, struggling with all the theological questions that we've dealt with for the last 6,000 years. You're not special. We started with AI and all this sophistication, and we ended up talking about the same things that have vexed humans forever.
Yep. That's
That's how it be. Well, OJ, thanks for chiming in here and letting me know about that alien thing. I can't believe that I didn't know about that because that was
the whole thing. Like the whole character AI saga is ridiculous.
a
Like I'm microcosm the gold rush for AI and all of its dangers and the responses that the powers that be have to
Yeah.
try to stop it. And it's sad and ridiculous and funny and
All right. Well, we're definitely going to have this topic again. And I hope when I do that you'll jump in on it. For now, I must bid you farewell, OJ Wolf Smasher.
yes, farewell, sir.
All right. And then I'm winding it up.
Bye.
Bye. All right. If you've hung on this long, thank you. We're going to go just a couple minutes over the time, but not too many. Appreciate that you were here. Yeah, that's right. I saw a like sign. You know what they say. I hate saying it. I just feel so stupid. But you got to subscribe. You got to like. You got to hit the notification bell. It's humiliating, honestly. But you also have to, if you don't mind, share with others and encourage them to watch. And whenever we promote a book, go out, buy 100 copies, just give them away if you have to. I do not have a Patreon. I'm kind of hoping that I won't ever have one, but maybe I will. We'll see what we got to do. But what we will continue to do, what we will continue to do, is try to find things that are not tied directly to current events that are interesting and hopefully profound in some way. And history is full of them. We don't have to constantly talk about today's news in order to find something to talk about. All right, so that is it. Thanks for joining me. Look, I'm not on the camera. Thanks for joining me this evening. Check out OJ Wolf Smashers webpage. Also, maybe I'll get that in the description in the next day or two. We are gonna be going next Tuesday. We're gonna redo the whole banana as art one. We had a technical problem which I have resolved with the help of OJ Wolf actually. So next Tuesday we should be good to go on that, and I'll be looking for topics on Thursday, and I'm switching to Tuesday Thursdays because I discovered that I just don't have the bandwidth to do it day after 2 days in a row. It just didn't work. Okay, so there, that's it. Thank you. Have a good night. Now I shall end the stream. I hope it doesn't cause too much pain. Goodbye.